Electrocast.
So good, so good, so good.
Everything you want for summer is at Nordstrom Rack stores now, and up to 60% off. Stock up and save on the brands you love like Vince, Sam Edelman, Frame, and Free People. Join the Nordy Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you Rack.
At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV! Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free.
The truth is out.
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Wesley demands.
Now this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you. I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or whatever movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris and I'm here with my older brother,
Wesley.
Today we're talking a movie of which there are 3 versions. The 1968 Steve McQueen version, the 1999 Pierce Brosnan version, and the forthcoming 2027 Michael B. Jordan version, The Thomas Crown Affair.
Which one are we focusing on today?
I assume 1999. At least that's the one I watched.
I would hope so. Have you seen the other?
I don't think so.
Mom is still tied to the other one. Iris is a recipient of the prestigious Peter Stark Producing Program. At USC, she holds a master's degree in film, and she claimed to have seen this movie in grad school as a part of the curriculum, making Iris a master of the Thomas Crown Affair, which we're discussing at length today. Iris, go.
I did claim that I maybe watched it in grad school, and I think maybe we just talked about it. So I took a great screenwriting class, and we talked about the choice to have the steel doors or the metal doors that protect the art before the sprinklers go on. There was a very intentional choice by the filmmakers to have the doors close relatively slowly. Like, I think in real life, these things shut like a trap. But they chose to have them close slowly because it was more emotional to see the faces of from the portraits.
Yes.
And I thought that was really fascinating. And that little tidbit has stuck with me throughout my career. But it turns out maybe I never saw the actual
No, you just had the climactic scene spoiled for you.
Yes. So basically what I'm saying, I'm totally qualifying this and saying we should not go interview style on the Thomas Crown Affair from 1999.
We are also not the climactic scene, but a very strong opening scene, also spoiled in the Thomas Crown Affair for the upcoming Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
I don't understand. They have Thomas Crown Affair in The Odyssey?
No, the Trojan horse.
Oh, right. Yeah. Tell me it was a horse. It was literally a horse? Someone's got a sense of humor.
Yep.
Dennis Leary. He was looking kind of shiny. Dennis Leary was looking shiny in this in 1999.
He also had, like Johnny Karate Kid, that blonde swoop thing, the hair like over his forehead.
Oh. Yeah? Kind of like the crashed wave?
His name was Mike in this movie. And I'm going to say that Mike kinda was a good guy. There's an asterisk there. Maybe the good guy. The good guy.
Because he's both seasoned and law-abiding detective, lieutenant detective.
Yes, asterisk also there.
But then human, who comes to understand Catherine on a totally other level.
Yeah, he was definitely emotionally invested in his investigations, but also professional and played by the rules, but a very hard on his sleeve kind of guy that Catherine acknowledged and then kissed him not once but twice on the lips. I guess she and Tommy weren't exactly in a full-on relationship at that point.
Wes,
but
you're
it
such a prude.
Seems like that's where they were
it's
headed.
So weird.
It wasn't professional for her to, but she wasn't a cop. She didn't have to play by the rule book.
Why can it not be affectionate and platonic?
Maybe the weirdness was that she licked her lips between the kisses, and I was like, that's a little bit weird. What would Tommy do? But also, she said, "You're a good man." And Kelly, who was silent for most of this movie, spoke up and was like, except when he beat a suspect unconscious.
Was it one of the foreigners?
When he was like, I was fine once, and talked about how his girlfriend disappeared, got drunk, came back in the morning married, and he beat a suspect unconscious or almost to death and flipped his car on an on-ramp.
Okay, well, yeah, but, those outlier moments don't define a person.
So we know where Iris lands on old police brutality.
I'm just saying I trust that old Mike paid for his past transgressions.
So we talked about time and place for movies and how age appropriate. And the Thomas Crown Affair is supposed to be sophisticated and sexy or definitely is some of those things. I suppose sophisticated more so than the original, which was not an art heist, not a sophisticated, elegant crime, but a bank robbery and possibly a series of bank robberies. But for nudity and sensuality and adventure and clever, elegant crimes and strategies, and also billions of dollars, I was 24 for the Thomas Crown, maybe 23, which I think is probably target age.
Yeah.
So I watched this movie a lot. I've owned it ever since it's been available for me to own, have seen it a bunch of times. Didn't realize until this viewing that Tommy is almost certainly a bad guy.
Was that revelatory for you? What does it mean to be a bad guy?
Well, he's the hero.
Is that how Pierce Brosnan played it?
He's the anti-hero for sure, but he's really calculating. He goes into the Met, or his lackeys, his criminals, go into the Met like Die Hard, like they're infiltrating Nakatomi Plaza. He is the Hans Gruber. He is smooth.
The Alan Rickman.
He's, I dare say, bespoke. He is the mastermind of this crime. Right? He uses those idiots as a diversion. He wasn't partners with those dudes. They were never meant to succeed. It was essential that they fail in that diversion for him to dip in and snatch the painting and leave. That's kind of a jerk move, right? Paying somebody for the crime, the spoils of which they'll never be able to enjoy, not only because the crime fails, but because they can't enjoy the money because they're in prison.
Yeah, he does set them up to take the fall. He treats them as disposable. The filmmakers expect us to treat them as disposable because they're mercenaries, and we're supposed to think differently because Thomas Crown is good looking and charming and is doing it all for fun.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely manipulating our perceptions, and we want to be taken along. We want to be taken for a ride on the Thomas Crown Affair.
Yeah, he is the sexy, air quotes, bad guy, the thief.
Is this before Pierce Brosnan, James Bond?
Nope. This was mid Pierce Brosnan, James Bond. Did you note that in the black tie affair, the formal thing where Banning shows up in her red sash and her nakedy dress, that he is wearing a tuxedo, but with a distinctly white bow tie, which is undone? He wasn't allowed to wear a fully constructed tuxedo because it was too James Bond.
Wow. When you sign up to be James Bond, when you sign a contract, then you can't wear tuxes out of character?
I don't think anybody who plays the Batman is like, I would go back in a heartbeat. They're like, yeah, I'm done with that. Daniel Craig at one point said he would rather slit his wrists than go back as James Bond, or he would eat broken glass or something. During this, they talked about, after, when like a career retrospective, Pierce Brosnan was like, I don't miss that at all. He was a challenge to play that guy, but I did that and now I'm done. It's really, really hard on actors, apparently, to play James Bond. They come with a lot of restrictions. That James Bond property is so unique and identifiable. It comes with lots of rules to keep the image unshaken.
I could understand the sensitivities, especially in the context of the Thomas Crown affair, because Thomas Crown is a lot like James Bond. Endless disposable income, that same kind of suave mystique, except I guess he's on the other side of the law.
This is, full disclosure, my favorite Pierce Brosnan movie. I saw all of his James Bonds, but that's never really been my franchise. So really stretching to be suave and clean and, well, not clean. No part of the Thomas Crown affair I don't think is clean. But stylistically, it seems very smooth and sexy. And I think that's stretching because this is the legendary John McTiernan, who directed the legendary Die Hard, the legendary Predator, both of which are discussions available at orwhatevermovies.com where you get podcasts, Die Hard 2, The Hunt for Red October, and the Thomas Crown Affair, which I think was a stretch, a departure for him. Really an action guy, making it look smooth and sexy, but also gritty because the sex scenes were kind of unflinching. The entire movie was like all the action stuff and all the intrigue and the cat and mouse was just kind of foreplay for the almost continual booty.
How long can my poster quote be? So then if that's the case, to extend the analogy, what's the climactic scene of the Thomas Crown affair?
Oh, that's the gangbang with all the dudes, all the faceless men in bowler hats. Oh, there's dudes all over the place.
Jeez.
I don't know.
Which is a complete diversion, right? Because her favorite painting's already gone. How does he get her favorite painting? Everything's gettable. How does he get it?
Here we are. It's all about, when it comes to movies like this, it's all about the technicality. Kelly Ray was like, that's like a clown car. When they all pile out of that little baby horse in that crate, there's 4 dudes and gear.
That horse was bloated. It looked like it was pregnant.
But you're watching like, okay, is that feasible? Could they have backed up the tape of the robbery, which they had all day long, to see how that third leg, that heater briefcase, got under the bench? Of course they could. Getting into the semantics and the technicality of whether or not these crimes, let alone the last crime, was executable is the hardest part of this movie for me. It was a Manet, I believe, the painting that she specified that she wanted. I couldn't tell if that was sort of orchestrated, like to give him another challenge. He was obviously asking for it, but the fact that she chose another one that was comparable in size and in the same room, and then he took it upon himself to do it. Do you think she had no idea?
She certainly seemed surprised when she opened the package. I was surprised.
Because it was a total cheat, unfortunately. At that point, I'm rolling my eyes. As is always the case, there are commenters when you point out stuff like that who are like, it's a movie. Just shut off the logic and enjoy it. That's a direct quote.
From whom?
I don't know. I just wrote down the quote. I didn't write down its attribution, but no. I did talk to her about this, though, and she said she's more tied to the first Thomas Crown affair because that's the one she knows growing up with. And Steve McQueen was a gritty, tough, cool guy playing suave. I guess like one of his first times in a suit.
Who?
Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway, who plays the therapist in this movie.
I figured she was playing her like original character.
Dude, legacy casting for sure. Oh, we can get Faye Dunaway. Did you know she was in the first one? Because Thomas Crown, the billionaire, who has very strong opinions about women and about money and stuff, paid that woman an awful lot of money to laugh in his face and mock him about being Peter Pan and about a woman who's his equal getting the better of him.
Yeah, because he doesn't have that kind of honesty in his life. That seems reasonable.
We're going to get there. Let me please go back to the things that concern me about this movie. Was the snatching the other painting off the wall. How is that possible? It's not really possible. Were there other things, anything that you noticed that just weren't possible?
I did think that it seemed a little unreasonable that Catherine and her team could break into Thomas's home, like that he would never leave himself so exposed. But then it's revealed later that it was all part of his plan. The whole thing is all part of his plan.
Yeah, there was nobody in his house. On that note, did he invite his lawyer Wallace to come cook with him because he knew Mike was coming with a search warrant?
Probably. I wouldn't put anything past Thomas Crown at this point, which is what makes him very James Bondy.
Yeah.
He had a warrant. What purpose did the lawyer serve that he was able to get the detectives kicked out despite their warrant?
Don't know. It was just him being a step ahead of Mike and the police at all times.
Okay.
Like he was there identifying the suspects. He knew where the investigation stood pretty much all the time. He got extracted information from Catherine about that kind of stuff, even while she was uncovering information or leads, whether or not deliberately placed or otherwise, about him.
It seemed unlikely that Thomas, all bases covered, Crown would not have a do not duplicate key.
Yeah, apparently that brand of key, conspicuously shown, is supposed to have crazy angles so that there's no way that that key machine, that duplicating machine that they used on screen, could have made a copy of that key.
Wow, that seems like some super deep cut internet theory stuff right there.
Yeah, rich guy stuff and basic guy filmmaking stuff. That I guess. I don't know if it's true, but the whole premise was that he got that painting off the wall, unceremoniously chucked the frame out of the way. I think that he was wearing gloves because that would have been a dead giveaway.
One glove.
Okay.
One glove.
How did he get it into the briefcase?
I'm pretty sure he places it immediately into the briefcase, the perfectly sized briefcase.
Apparently it was either scripted or shot, and then either John McTiernan or somebody else. I had always heard that it was test audiences who came in and didn't like when they marked you. Was there anything you didn't like about the film? They really didn't like that he took like a tool and cracked the frame, the wooden frame on which the canvas is stretched, in order to fold the Monet into the briefcase. Like that was distasteful. So you see him fold over one side, and he would have needed to fold the painting in half in order to close the other side of the briefcase, but they didn't want to show that. So he just magically has it in the briefcase, gets it home, magically opens it, and the wooden frame is intact because we can see it from the back when he holds it up, and then places it in his little hidey hole, not for her to discover, but where she discovers the copy later on.
I could see how, for an art lover, he wouldn't want to risk ruining the painting in any way. However, did the test audiences not have a problem with painting over the painting and then spraying it with water?
I have a real problem with it.
Wishing you could be there live for the big game, soaking up the atmosphere of the crowd. But too often, life gets busy, or the price holds you back. Priceline is here to help you make it happen. With millions of deals on flights, hotels, and rental cars, you can go see the game live. Don't just dream about the trip, book it with Priceline. Download the Priceline app or visit Priceline.com. Actual prices may vary. Limited time offer.
Hey, I like your new RAV4.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the Runway Approved Vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or Really Admired Vehicle?
Oh, or Really Awesome Vehicle.
It really is the recreational activity vehicle. The stylish 2026 Toyota RAV4 Limited. What's your RAV4?
Thankfully, I was happy to find that museums' this fire system doesn't exist. I think they have fire suppressant gases, or they knock out the oxygen or whatever to stifle fires. But the full-on sprinkler system over the multi-hundred-year-old paintings doesn't really exist. But boy, okay, painting over it in watercolor is one thing. And I get that people clean and restore paintings all the time by using solvents and to keep the yellowing off of ancient paintings, right? Or old paintings. But boy, just fire hosing that thing and having the paint drip down onto the floor really bothered me. It's stirring up all kinds of anxieties in me right now. The fact that it was just like a total FU, I put it back or whatever. And then there's that spot it's like sky on the top of the painting, but the water doesn't get to the very top. So it looks like the painting is damaged or corroded, but it's just the very top line under the lip of the frame that hasn't washed away. Oh, it bothers me so much because it looks like the Monet is ruined. The $100 million Monet. It drives me so crazy. It's disrespectful, bruh. Oh, God.
What should Michael B. Jordan do differently?
I don't know. They took real liberties with the Thomas Crown Affair in 1999. Pierce Brosnan is an artist, and what's more suave and sophisticated than being an art lover? He is a painter. I wouldn't say, I'm going to take back artist, because I'm not sure what he does. But he produced this film as well, advocated for the change. Michael B. Jordan can do whatever he wants. No one's going to be like, oh, this isn't true to the Thomas Crown Affair canon or mythology.
But in the timeline of 1999's The Thomas Crown Affair, he steals the painting. We see him with the painting in his study or whatever. And then Catherine makes him. And then she shows up at the gala where he's essentially replacing the painting. Is it because he knows that she's onto him and that he's already mapped out the chess game in his mind?
Is what
that
because?
He replaces it immediately? Does he effectively return the painting because Catherine's onto him and he's already played out the entire scenario in his mind?
No, I don't think so. And I think this is what adds to Thomas Crown being kind of the bad guy. I want to examine this idea of money. You and I like movies about money and the freedom and sometimes the wildness and the insanity that comes with just too much money. I'm talking about stuff like Succession or The Social Network or whatever, where you can just be crazy and sometimes stupid as an excuse because you have money. And when he like wrecking the $100,000 boat, the catamaran, because he likes to splash. I'm not sure it was quite so cut and dry as that if he intended to wreck it, but probably. I think his entire plan, because it would have taken, 2 days after the robbery, Frankie Faison says, that Tyrol Anna Knudsen painted over that thing and he returned it just a couple of days later. So she needed the time to jump on it and paint the Pizarro covering it. So I think that was his plan to begin with. And he put it back because it was never about owning the painting. He had it for a glorious afternoon where he's like, and puts it up under his special painting lights in his house, and then immediately painted over it and returned it as a big FU. And note that now at the end, when it's uncovered again by the water, there's a plaque next to the Monet that says on loan from the collection of Thomas Crown. And there's Crown acquisition pencils in the track of the metal sheet covering it. That's his painting, and he wants you all to know that he successfully stole it. Not sustainable or reliable to, have to squirrel it away forever, because the Catherine Bannings of the world are going to break into your shit and go through your stuff and find it, right? You don't think they would actually just write a $100 million check, do you? So it was about his ability to steal it and be like, F you, and then peace out. What is his liability for the crime of stealing the painting? Because you had the underwriters, she's going to submit an expense report, presumably, to the Swiss dudes. There's a police investigation. He ruined Anna Knudsen's life. Remember when they all swarm her apartment and she's gone?
Well, with Thomas Crown's lawyers, there won't be any punishment, or at least that's the presumption. But I think it's grand theft. Even if you return the item, there's probably some unlawful breaking and entering kind of thing, conspiracy. But all of that is moot because in the end, doesn't he flee? Aren't they on the lam?
Yes.
In the plane on the way to London?
Right. I don't know if she ended up liquidating, but she is on the lam. She is a fugitive. The only difference.
Why is she a fugitive?
If I had to leave, how much could I take with me? If I had, you're going to be taking an enormous hit. And so she's ruining her life. But also she said, we'll be fugitives. And he said, yeah, fugitives with means. She's aiding and abetting. She is. Maybe,
but isn't his grand plan at the end, we'll be free? We'll be free because I've returned it. I will return it.
Theoretically, and I think that is only because, and he has the other thing, the other painting to contend with. Like if they get it back at police headquarters, the Manet, and they're like, oh, I mean, that's not, like, we didn't even know that it was gone or whatever. I guess we'll just put it back and we won't press charges for that one. No, he's got a lot to account for. The only difference that I can conceive of is a Shawshank Redemption kind of thing, where when Red violates his parole and heads on down to Mexico, spoiler, he echoes Brooks and says, I doubt they'll kick up much fuss for an old crook like me. Like, he paid his dues for the main crime. He is breaking the law for the second time in his life by jumping parole. Now that the painting has been returned and the underwriters in Switzerland are satisfied, and Mike doesn't really care because they're snatching a couple of swirls of paint that are only really important to some very silly rich people, maybe they're better off, but they're still being hunted. They're still being, they're on Interpol or whatever.
Can't you credit Thomas Crown with exposing the security risks at the Met?
Yeah, that would be like Catch Me If You Can. Yeah.
Style. Is he totally unredeemable?
I don't know, but I think he's the bad guy now in my old age. And they have love, but is John McClane in the aforementioned Die Hard, also directed by John McTiernan, redeemable for blowing up Nakatomi Tower to stop the terrorists?
Yeah, it's a lot of collateral damage, and there isn't as much in the Thomas Crown affair. The money that he's probably donated to the Met as a patron or at the Met Gala fundraisers probably pays for all of the damage that he and his gang caused. There's not a lot of collateral damage, which is always like the silly part of all of the Speeds and the Die Hards of the world. It's like, was it really necessary to like blow up the entire building in order to stop the terrorists? I'm not sure.
Well, the budget allowed for it. You want it to be spectacular looking on film. So why not blow it up on film?
So I think, at the most, what could they get Thomas Crown for? Maybe fine him for the police work? I mean, don't you have to reimburse search and rescue if they send the Huey out for you?
Remember he said, Mike said, you know what kind of blood-sucking lawyers or flesh-eating lawyers this guy's going to have? Being a super rich guy, is it worth their while to chase Thomas Crown and Catherine Banning, who have more money than they will ever have?
Probably not. And isn't that how the law works? It's not only about justice and jurisprudence, right? There's a lot of practicality in there. There are lots of crimes for which the DA decides not to press charges. Isn't that their discretion?
Yes, I think it is, because they are the foremost authority. They are the accountability. If the DA is like, I don't know, this is a tough one, we can't solve this one, who's cracking down on, no, the Thomas Crown case has priority, solve it or you're out of here?
Right.
Remember Pretty Woman, after Edward makes his turn and Stucky confronts him, what does he say to Phil?
Our discussion, for which is available at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts.
Yeah.
Thomas Crown, Pierce Brosnan's Thomas Crown was definitely channeling Eddie. Is it all right if I call him Eddie?
Or not if you expect him to answer. What he says is, we don't make anything, Phil. Remember, like they're going to build ships, great big ships, but he tells Phil they don't make anything and that bothers him. They buy other people's companies, sell it off, whatever. What if I told you there was a massive subplot in the script and other places that showed that Crown Acquisitions or the Crown Corporation was vastly corrupt and that he was a Beverly Hills cop-style art dealer using it as a front for all kinds of shady stuff, like he was a drug dealer or a weapons smuggler or whatever, using the Crown Company as a front for dirty business and money laundering.
I suppose that wouldn't surprise me. His finance bros in the elevator were pretty detestable. Yeah. I thought that they functioned to make Crown himself less detestable, but maybe they were just corrupt businessmen and employees.
Yeah. My point is, it's not true. That never happened. But it could have been. It totally could have been, because he straddles this line of good and bad. But I want to talk about the dude, and because this is about Thomas Crown. It's not the Crown banning affair. So like we talked about Die Hard, and a big spoiler for that movie again is that Holly Gennaro was independent and successful and self-possessed and professional and good at her job and cool under pressure in dealing with the terrorists threatening Nakatomi Plaza. Catherine Banning had it all going for her, and then was reduced to a crying, I'm all checkmated out kind of fugitive, subjecting herself to his whims, and mad because he pulled a trick on her, allowing her to be on the plane all like reduced to nothing. She escaped on her own, and he wasn't there.
He does prove to have the upper hand. She may have a lot going for her. She may to some people seem like she has it all, but she doesn't have real connection. She doesn't have love. And her arc is not needing that or being immune to it or using her intimacy and using sex and using all of that like as part of her, as a function of her work, as it's like in her job description to do whatever it takes, except at what expense? At expense of having true intimacy and having a relationship. She just finds it with kind of the wrong guy. And I question his interest in her, right? He finds her to be novel, and at first maybe she is his match, but I think he's the wrong guy for Catherine Banning because I'm afraid that his interest in her will fade. And then it would seem like a real upheaval and a real sacrifice for whatever time she actually gets with Thomas Crown.
You said it, the wrong guy.
But maybe it's worth it to her. It seemed worth it to her. Maybe it was but maybe running to the dock and finding the dude in the bowler hat was impulsive. Maybe it wasn't fully thought through, and maybe that's her arc, that it doesn't all have to be calculated and thought through and strategized before she acts upon it.
Well, and also from the beginning, she never seemed really happy. She seems like the chase, and the intrigue and seducing him kind of was thrilling for her at times, but she didn't seem like a very centered, focused, happy person, and neither does he, I think, because he's a supervillain.
Okay.
Grand fun adventure. I really like watching people live well, especially when they're not just resting on their money, when I guess they're doing stuff for their money as poorly envisioned or intentioned as that other stuff is. But I suspect that all rich people are corrupt because all people are corrupt, and like alcohol, money just intensifies the stuff in your personality that's more typically kept hidden.
Or Thomas Crown is a bored supervillain whose next project is systematically destroying the life of Catherine Banning.
And that may be, even if it's not intentional, even if that wasn't his plan to begin with, that's probably what's going to happen.
And that's our discussion of the Thomas Crown Affair from 1999. Check out our forthcoming future review of the Thomas Crown Affair 2027 with Michael B. Jordan. Is it going to be Ryan Coogler?
No, he is directing it, as he did with Creed 3. Michael B. Jordan is taking it all in stride, and he's taken his Oscar to In and Out, and he's taken his talents to his own projects through and through.
818-835-0473 or whatevermovies@gmail.com is how you get in touch with us to let us know what you thought of this episode, what you think of Or Whatever Movies, and if there are movies, specific films that you would like for us to discuss. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ethan Janakis, host of podcast Cinematic Revelations. Join me as we explore cinema from the 1960s until the present, where we will consider well-known movies, discover rare, unexpected cinematic gems, but also analyse lesser films which are still of importance in film history. Our journey here is shared by industry insiders who provide their invaluable insights on cinema in all its various aspects. To find out more, be sure to listen and subscribe to Cinematic Revelations wherever you listen to podcasts. I look forward to seeing you there.
Electricast. Hey guys, it's Miriam Love here, and I want to share something very special with you. Check out my new release, All In, the Spanish remixes, out now on Electric House Records. And always remember, be love, share love, all love.
Available now wherever you listen to music.
Electricast.